And we are live. Welcome everyone to episode 24 of the Risk Reward Show. This is
Welcome,
another
welcome.
Kobe episode. Good to see you, Derrick.
Same
So
here, same here.
welcome everyone to the Risk Reward Show. My name is Cris Mercado, aka Mr. Risk. And as usual, I am joined by,
Mr. Reward.
and we are here to help you find the upside in your career and your money-making opportunities. So to quickly start, let's do a quick weekly rewind. We've had a lot of news in the realms of finance, crypto, and also the global Olympics. So
Mhm.
let's start it off with Bitcoin, Derrick, since
BTC.
you're our crypto expert on the show.
So if you haven't noticed, Bitcoin has broke $40,000 in the past few days. Bitcoin for the past month has been going down. People have been dogging it, saying it's worthless. It's this. People are pulling out. People are scared. It's a scam. But we are back at 40K. I think right now it's hovering around probably like 38. So for me, this is something I'm very, very happy of. I feel like we've always told people when there's lows, you should still, dollar cost average in. So when it hit like 28 or like 29, I was still putting some money in. So just to see it go back up to 40K, I've seen some gains, some very, very good gains. So I'm happy to see that. But just wanted to give everyone some more insight on why these gains are happening. So there've been a couple of things that have happened within like the last week that have caused the price to go up. Besides more people just believing in the Bitcoin. So one of the biggest things that has happened is that there was a short squeeze on the Bitcoin. There were a lot of whales who thought the price was going to continue to go down. So they put bets that the price would continue to go down. So a lot of retail investors like us think of it as like what happened with like GameStop, and basically people are saying we're gonna beat out the bigger money and basically just kind of force them to close out their positions, and that's basically what happened. You have a lot of these whales that had to close out their squeezes because people were like the prices it wasn't going down like at all, so they were losing money. Another thing is that last week there was a conference called the B. I think it was called the. It was either it was called the B word, and it had Kathy Woods, Elon Musk, and Jack Dorsey of the Twitter, and they were basically just talking about these like minds were talking about why they're so heavily invested within the Bitcoin and how their companies are going to be using it, as well as like their personal feelings about it. And so within that conference itself, you've seen the prices go up and down. Elon, I feel like he doesn't understand how his voice can really change prices because there's certain things that he would say, and like you would say like like why would you say that? Like he said something along the lines of like he doesn't pump. It'd be no, he like he does pump it, but he doesn't dump it. So for those who don't know, there's like I guess like one of the downfalls to the Bitcoin is like or anything within the crypto space is the pump and dump. And basically you have these whales that are putting in, massive amounts of money to pump up the prices. And when the prices get high, they dump everything in, then you just take it out. So the fact that he said that, it was like you got to be careful about what you're saying, because your voice is like the crypto voice. So whatever you say affects the price.
Yeah,
Um,
that pump and dump, it's also with penny stocks.
yeah.
So it's a combo of they throw in a bunch of money, but then they follow that with a bunch of hype. And as an influencer that like that Elon is,
Mhm.
or like Mark Cubans of the world, that puts the general public in a precarious situation. So I hate it when they do that.
Yeah. So for him to say that, I'm like, you gotta stop talking like that, man. Like you gotta stop talking as like there's not cameras on you. But most recently, I think this rumor was proven to be false. But there was a rumor that Amazon would start to accept the Bitcoin by the end of this year. So that rumor alone took the price of the coin up also. But I think that rumor was proven to be false. So a lot of like he said, she said, but I'm happy to see the Bitcoin go up again. It was just a matter of time.
Yeah, I don't even sweat it. It's just a minor allocation. Again, it's part of the asset allocation strategy that I have. So it's very little. It won't hurt me too much. It's also probably not going to make me, go out and buy a house. My thoughts would be different if my cost basis was from 2015, right?
Yeah.
So I just don't bother looking at it a whole lot, and maybe that's an approach for the overall market. Speaking of which, we had some we're in the middle of earnings season, and one of the names that popped off this afternoon, at least popped off my screen, was Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering your thoughts on the company itself and maybe the earnings. So from the last read off of CNBC, they had adjusted earnings of $1.45 per share, and revenues were almost 12 billion. So that beat estimates on both earnings and revenues.
Mm-hmm.
And it's over $1 billion in quarterly net income. So it is, it's a beat, but it's not one that has caused a huge pop in the stock in the after hours. So overall, what do you think about your prospects? Because again, we don't recommend any security. This is just for informational and educational purposes only. But are you playing Tesla?
I'm always going to be an investor within that company. Not only I feel like what the way how I see it, like they're more than a car company. I feel like they're a data company. Like they're gathering so much data. So that's my reason for being within the Tesla. I mean, I haven't played like any options. I'm just, just buying it like every, 2 weeks and, just every month. But I'm very heavily invested within it. I mean, I feel like for Tesla, especially with my portfolio, it's a little bit over five percent of like everything else. So I mean, for me, I love Tesla. I truly think they're more than a car company, and the fact that they're gathering so much data, I think that's going to be crazy. But one thing I did just wanted to share my screen and just show people, just because you did mention that their earnings are out. And I just wanted to let everyone know how easy it is to find the earnings of the Tesla. So simply just go to google.com. I'm going to type in Tesla investor relations. For any company, you can type in investor relations, and their filing should just pop right up. So for Tesla, the press release is here, but also you can look at like their shareholder deck. For me, I really like to look at this because it lets me know about certain things that I probably don't know. But the fact that they're laying out like, hey, this is our plan for, Q3. And just to show you all, a couple of things that I would look at. Of course, you would read like, their highlights. Something that you mentioned, Cris, before was like they have 12 billion, I think. Was it that?
Yeah,
it was 12 billion in cash, yeah.
Yeah. No, it was I just closed out the window for that.
Okay.
So you wouldn't find it in the highlights. You would find it actually
in the like the actual numbers, yeah. So so now that their earnings came out and I'm a holder of the Tesla, I would definitely take some time to look at, everything here. whether it be from like the highlights, reading the summary. It's only 28 pages, so take about like, you know, like 30 minutes to like an hour just to like really get into the details of this. But
Yeah, in the pink column, you'll see the quarterly revenues.
yeah, so it says within millions, so like 11 billion, probably close to 12. Um, Goes into the operating expenses. I also look at to see like how much cash they have on like on hand. Um, the financial summary, it'll break that down. They'll also give you like little hints on like what's going on.
Wait, hold on. Stop here just for our audience. So if for the newbies here, where it says revenue, like total revenue grew 98% year over year in Q2. So for the second quarter of
Mhm.
this year as compared to last year, there was that 98% increase. So that is a portion of evidence that would, I guess, support the idea of Tesla still being a growth stock.
Mhm. And growing 98% year over year is not a easy feat.
So one of the metrics that folks should take a look at is accelerated revenue growth. So you want to see not just revenue growth, but that year over year, um, the growth is increasing. So Tesla has um, kind of had this amazing run. Um, for me, like my opinion on it is, I'm not chasing it up here. If
Mhm.
you got in, let's say 15, 16 months ago, you rode that wave up, kudos to you. I hope you locked in some profits. Um, but this ain't the one for chasing, at least for me.
Yeah, like if you're not unless you have the money to like spend, but if you're not in it now, um, I think it's pretty. I feel like it can go higher. Like I don't want to tell people not to get in it or not to like really look at it because it's what around like six and change now, like 660 something. But who knows? It could jump even higher.
I again, like we can only because we're not financial advisors, we can only tell you what we would do from our perspective in terms of how we're using our money.
Yes.
And I'm saying I am not putting fresh money into this,
Hmm.
but we are telling you, hey, go access all the fundamental information, and this is what some of the terms mean. And what I will say though is that a stock like Tesla often doesn't act on fundamentals. It often acts on momentum and technicals. So that's another thing
Hmm.
to consider.
Yeah, and also you'll find it within their shareholder deck is like the where like their cars are at, um, the different factories that they're building, their core technology. So, like I said before, like this autopilot, I think is amazing. I think that's what's gonna keep. I think that's going to be the thing that separates them from a lot of companies is just that they have so much data on maps and stuff like that, and really having cars drive on like their own, as well as like their battery. I feel like from what I've read, their battery still isn't where it should be, but I mean, I'm pretty sure that's something that they can figure out within like the years to come. um you'll also find their reports on like their solar. Like I haven't really read it through, so I'm just kind of just skimming with everybody here.
Yeah. So
But mhm.
I'll let people know that these investor relations decks, right? These quarterly reports, they're also marketing materials. They're company marketing propaganda as well. So keep that in mind when you are reading through these. If
Yeah.
as someone who owns the stock, like that's good to know if I'm uh, if I own a stock and I purchased it and I still hold on to it for fundamental reasons, a deck like this would be super helpful and interesting. I also still keep in mind that it is marketing materials. So I like looking at what other analysts say,
Mhm.
and then take a peek at the technicals here and there. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
And another thing I'll mention is that you can also listen to the earnings call. So if you don't have time to read, well, I mean, you should make time to read through like whatever deck they have, or like whatever their their statements are saying. But you can also listen to it too, because you have people, other companies that are saying or asking them like these really tough the questions, like questions that we probably won't think about because we're not in that like realm. But they're asking some really good questions there, and you'll be able to kind of sift like the answers that you are getting from Tesla.
that makes sense. So again, you can replicate that process with publicly traded companies, so that you feel more secure in what you want to buy and what you want to hold on to, or what you want to sell. Speaking of, I guess, selling, um, so I'm not sure how much the world is sold on the Olympics. Japanese citizens surely don't like having the games, especially as there's a resurgence in COVID.
Mhm.
But there are some highlights from the Olympics. USA winning several gold medals. Uh, the host country uh, has been in the lead in terms of gold medals. Um, but the big one, I guess, the big news that has been talked about is the USA basketball team losing to France, Australia, and Nigeria. So this is not the typical dominating performance that we have seen in past Olympics from the USA men's basketball team. What are your thoughts?
So thoughts, I mean, when I hear the stars that are on that, like the actual team, I'm thinking everybody should at least have 30. The fact that they're able to put these numbers up in the actual the NBA, I'm thinking it should be the same when they go across seas. But for them to be losing, I really think it's more of like they don't mesh well. I think there's too many stars there probably. But just watching like First Take and on Sports Center, a lot of people are putting the blame on the head coach, Greg the Popovich, in terms of like he's not playing them as like their stars. He's playing them as if they're like his team, and that's not how they should be playing. Like they should be just dominating. I feel like if you have Devin Booker, um, Kevin Durant, and who else, Dame and Damian Little, like those three alone should be taking over the entire squad. I
I
think.
I got to take you to task there. I think that's a little bit of American arrogance there.
Hmm.
The world has just caught up with USA
Basketball, yeah, yeah.
basketball. Some of the stars that you see in the Olympics in those other countries, like Luca, dropping like 47, right? Well, he's a star in the NBA,
Yeah.
right? So you see the influence of players from other countries in the NBA. This shouldn't
Mhm.
be a surprise, right? And I think there has been a lot of discussion about, what's wrong with the team. One, they're not a team. They're a collection of really good players and a few really great players.
Mhm.
That doesn't make you a team.
Exactly.
They've hardly practiced. So I don't think that we take that into account enough. So those 2 points, globally, folks have caught up. And two, this is a collection It is not a team.
Yeah.
So I would not be surprised if they don't take home the gold. They're also tired because they've had these weird 2 years of NBA seasons that were both condensed and like their rest time in between seasons was shortened.
Mhm.
So they haven't had time to refresh. And you have folks who had deep runs in the playoffs and
Devin
are now
Booker.
going to the Olympics to play more ball.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. The kind of the strain that we ask these athletes to take on, right? And I just won't be surprised if they get like a silver, maybe even a bronze.
Yeah. I mean, your point of like the arrogance of like how people view the USA team, it's very true. But I mean, when it comes to like any like global game, I think for me specifically, like I like when there was like a World Cup, I was Team USA all the way. So I'm gonna think that we're gonna do like the best. Like even though when it came to like soccer, I know that's not like our sport, but a sport like basketball, I believe that we have some of the best players. So I expect them to be the best and just like represent the country properly. But you did make a very good point that a lot of the stars that are within our league are coming from these, other countries. So of course they're going to be, much better. And something that uh, I think it was Damian Lillard said was that these players, like when they're playing for the league, they play very different when it comes to their country. And as like it should be, you should be playing harder because now it's like you're fighting for more. You're not fighting for some rich, a billionaire. Like you're fighting for like a flag now. Like you're playing for a flag. So of course you're going to come harder. You're going to play like 10 times better. The game is going to be more serious. So I just feel like America, we should do better. But that's all.
I can understand those sentiments.
Yeah.
Now, since you did mention stars and the NBA and basketball, we have to give kudos to the Milwaukee Bucks on their championship. And when we talk about players who are from other countries, then Giannis Antetokounmpo is probably one of the like main figures in this global renaissance of basketball, this global rise of basketball in coming from Greece, but having Nigerian heritage, and really rising to the top and delivering one of the most magnificent closeout performances in NBA history,
50
but
piece, yeah.
also the entire playoff run was amazing. Two 40-point games and then the 50-point game is stunning, especially just like days after you saw his knee buckle and everybody thought that he wasn't going to play anymore. But we're going to use Giannis here, not in the basketball player context, but we're going to use Giannis here as an employee of the NBA and the Milwaukee Bucks to talk about this idea of loyalty for a company. So our main segment asks the question, when do you stay or when do you go in terms of your place within a company? So we're going to start off this discussion with Mr. Reward, Derrick. Please share your thoughts on being loyal to a company and some of the factors that you consider in terms of when you should leave or when you should stay?
So I just want to bring up the fact that we put up a poll on IG, and the question I asked was, should you be loyal to your employer? I got 100% no. 100% no. Which I did expect. But I'll start off by saying how I feel about staying with a company and whether, like what that loyalty like really is. I think you as the employee should be loyal to you first. Um, what does that mean really? I mean, to me, it really means that you're putting you first, like regardless of what, like you're not gonna, like you're basically setting your boundaries in terms of like, I'm here from 9 to 4, or like 9 to 5 or 10 to 6, like whatever hours you're there for, but you're there and you're concentrated within like that time. Um, you have people that I personally know of who would work on weekends, who would probably like miss birthdays, not like take time off, and I feel like that is something that you shouldn't do. Like that's not putting like you first, because at the end of the day, the company is going to be a-okay with or without you. So I don't think it should be something. I mean, you should be loyal to a certain like degree, in terms of like if you're working there, you're doing your best, but within your own boundaries. But always thinking about you first too. So something that I just wanted to just talk about was, one, when should you stay, and why people do stay. I feel like if you are staying with a company for a certain amount of time, there is this expectation that if I'm here, I'm doing well, I'm bringing the company more like money, more sales and stuff like that, then you will be rewarded with that. And that would come in the time of in the form of more like money. You can get like awards. You have companies that like reward people for being there for 5 years, 10 years and stuff like that, which is cool. But I think that's more of like the old way of things. I think now people just want that freedom, that those roles where I'm in like some type of some type of leader role. So that's how companies can repay their people for staying there for longer. But at the same token, I don't want people to feel stuck there, because I feel like with each and every job that you do have, it's like you're learning something new, and it is like some type of stepping stone to something bigger. So if you do see any like another role that's probably more responsibility, more pay, and just more of something that you're more passionate about, you shouldn't feel bad about leaving the company that you are to take on this new role. So don't feel like you're stuck and like you're held back when there's something that could be better for you that's out there. Um, but yeah, I mean that's all that I can say for that right now. I feel like we'll get into some more thoughts. But what's your take on it?
For me, this is really simple. The decision is hard, but the factors to consider are relatively straight to the point and simple. So the risk for staying is, in general, little or no growth. This primarily means your wage and income growth. So there's enough research that illustrates that when you job hop, you can leverage that movement for boosts in pay. So if you are money centric and your idea of success is centered around promotions, titles, and boosts in pay, then staying risks all of those benefits. So I can understand why people would not want to be loyal to a company. On the other hand, there are risks for leaving. In general, you are going to face maybe not the unknown, but the lesser known. And you're going to give up stability and routine. What happens if you switch roles to another company and all the lovely things that they said about working at that place during your interview process and all of the glowing recommendations that you heard from your network or you read in articles did not come to fruition, at least in terms of your expectations, then there might seep in this sense of regret that you left an okay thing for something that isn't as good as you thought. My question to you is, which of those categories of risks, the risks for staying and the risks for leaving, which one of those cause you the most pain? Once you do that inward work that I often talk about, that introspection to figure out what you want, your skill sets, the goals and aspirations that you have, both in the short term and the longer term. Once you have done that work, all you have to do is ask that question, which risks give you the most pain? And I think you will arrive at the answer that would be best for you and hopefully your family, your loved ones as well.
That's deep. That's real deep. That snaps for you. So, I mean, everything you're saying is completely right. I think being able to find which is the proper upside for you, whether it is staying or whether it is leaving, I think that's a real decision that you have to make. But I just wanted to double down on the rewards that you have for like either. When it comes to like leaving, I feel like you kind of covered that, but I think something else that a lot of people don't talk about is like, you know, you may be leaving this job because of stress. You may be leaving this because you see that there's like something better. So there is a reward in terms of like getting that off of, I guess, getting rid, just starting fresh. So basically, I think it's times when you need to just like start fresh and just kind of do what you got to do. But also, I mean, another reward, like we both said, of course, would probably be more, you know, like a higher salary. But I think another thing that we need to take into consideration is that staying long at companies doesn't happen anymore, really. I feel like back then, like back in the day, you had companies who would pay you pensions because you worked there for like 20 to 30 years. But now pensions is something that doesn't like really happen. So now the I guess like the ownership has come within like the, I guess like the job seeker, to where they have the power to kind of move here and, you know, just like move there. So I mean, for me, it's more about what is more comfortable with you and how you, or like what are the different areas that you want to like do, because you can be doing something now and then you find like a new passion and then things could just switch for you. So I mean, that may be in like the form of you like, you know, leaving, you know, whatever job you're at. But also, I just again want to say that the company will be fine with or without you. The doors will still be open. The money will still be coming in.
So one follow-up point is that a lot of what's been discussed so far between us is very individualistic. And we also need to take time to consider folks who have families out there.
Mhm.
There's more at risk. That decision isn't just for you. It's for others as well. And one of the bigger points I want to bring up is that novelty is overrated. We are chasing new things all the time. That new car, that new hot IPO that I can start trading, that new music festival that I want to buy tickets to. Everything is new, 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 new. And I don't think we take the time to consider how much value, how much joy chasing novelty actually gives us.
Mm-hmm.
So when we think about our feelings of anxiety and FOMO, fear of missing out, that's rooted in this chase for novelty. If you're going to do the same for careers, just know there's a risk to chasing novelty in the professional world. You may not get what you want out of that next role. If you were job hopping every 6 months, a year, folks will start to see this trend. This person doesn't like committing to a role. And that's not a good look for your overall career trajectory. On the other side, what is so underrated is stability. For me to know that, I get treated decently, somewhat fairly at this role. There aren't too many changes and new processes I have to figure out.
Mm-hmm.
That gives me a little bit of freedom of time and headspace to explore other things. Maybe have a side gig, because my main gig is stable. As you get older, I think there's this desire to have stability. Oftentimes, as you get older, you're also caring for family. And that stability feels really, really good. What doesn't feel as good is the chase. I'm sure we have older friends, and sometimes we joke around about, like, I can't be up in the club anymore. I can't be partying 3 days in a row, going out every night on the weekend, because it just doesn't suit our lifestyle and it takes longer to recover, right? So we stop chasing that novelty. And you know what? That might be the best thing to do at this particular stage of life. Now, if you're 21, 25, maybe 29, I'm going to encourage you to really make impact within those first 1 or 2 years at a company in a role. And after you have shown and proven that you deserve that promotion, that next step up, but you're not getting to that next level, then it's time for you to go. It's time for you to at least look around for better opportunities. But I want you to consider how underrated stability and consistency is. Now, it doesn't have to be complacency. You can have stability and still have a little bit of growth, right? So you're just not on cruise control being complacent. But that overall stability where you get regular income, the team members that you're working with, their mannerisms, how to get around any issues and problems within a role, that's totally underrated.
Yeah, that's true. I feel like for me, like, yeah, I feel like the fact that you bring up the family part, like, that's something that I feel like you can't be switching jobs if you have like a family coming. Like, that's something that you can't do because you're working to provide for more than just you. And if you are the person that's bringing in the money, you need to have a stable source of income. Um, Damn, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a real fact. I don't have like a follow up for that. I think you hit like you really hit it on the nail.
Well, I think this is a very meaty discussion, and it does depend on your stage in life and in your career. This is definitely something we're going to take to LinkedIn so that we can get the feedback of other professionals across industries. So I'm interested to see, and I encourage everyone to, follow, subscribe, and comment, particularly on this episode, on our YouTube channel, the Risk Reward YouTube channel. I'm interested to see how, let's say, the tech professionals that we're often around, think about company loyalty versus a lot of my teacher friends who are trying to get retirement and get that DOE pension.
Tenure.
Right? So, and, just these different perspectives, I think, are really valuable. So part of it is stage of life, part of it is the industry that you're in, and assessing how much growth versus stability that is comfortable for you, but also how much growth you have in an industry or like within a company is something that you have to figure out as well. So I look forward to continuing the conversation on this. So please follow, subscribe, and comment and share this out. This might be one of our most important episodes in crafting what your career trajectory should look like.
Mm.
I think we are around this critical time where, the stimulus provided by the government is going to be pulled back in the coming months. There's shifts in ideas of how to work, where to work. And I think this idea of company loyalty, inspired by a story like Giannis Antetokounmpo, who had a free agency looming, but decided to sign a max contract, but was in close touch with the Milwaukee Bucks ownership and got some concessions that included Giannis got his brother on the team as part of the deal. Giannis forced them to get talented players like Drew Holiday, who they had to give up tons for. And I guess since they won the championship, it was all worth it.
Mm-hmm.
But if they didn't win the championship, they gave up like some of their future for Drew Holiday. But Giannis's story in this context of company loyalty is really interesting, and that's why we wanted to bring it up today, because you see folks just leaving everywhere. I see it on LinkedIn. I see folks who I'd like to announce that I have joined whatever company, and we all congratulate. And then for a couple of newsfeed check-ins that I had on my LinkedIn, I saw those same people like 8-9 months later. It's like, hey, I'm looking for a job. I'm open to work. I'm like, oh, that didn't work out too well, right?
Yeah.
And not everything works out, but this is the idea of, well, just know that there are risks to staying and risks for leaving. So let's please consider a lot of the points that Derrick and myself, like the points that we brought up, I think it's going to be really important for you all to consider. So with that in mind, let's get to the right move right now. So whether or not your right move is to leave a company or to stay a company, Derrick and I have a couple of, I guess, right moves right now that are good for us and might be helpful for you. So for me, I am somewhat tactical about my stock portfolio. So I'm active on a weekly basis. I'm looking for opportunities where I see asymmetrical risk and reward. So I might leverage options. Um, I might make a large high conviction purchase in a stock like I did last week with SoFi, which is still up from where I bought it. But like I said last episode, I bought VIX options. I bought more VIX options today because I'm playing for a pullback that I feel is looming. And apparently, if you Google uh, well enough, you will see Goldman Sachs advising some of their clients to look out for a potential pullback. So I would not be surprised if we have something 5-10% that's going to feel a little scary because we are up so high. And I'm still in a lot of cash waiting to pounce and buy, being relatively patient. But I also want to make money on the way down.
Yeah.
So my right move right now is for you to position yourself for a potential pullback in everything from high growth stocks to also crypto.
Okay. I do think there's going to be a major pullback soon with this super inflation that's happening. So, I think it hasn't hit yet, but eventually, like that, like it will. For me, my right move right now really would, coincide with basically what our main topic was, and just to kind of hone in on like the points that I've made. But putting yourself first is a sign of strength. um, Whether you're thinking about staying because of family, whether you're thinking about leaving because you wanted to take on like that next role, but starting with yourself, I think, is the best thing that you can do in really being self-aware of what would be better for you, within whatever your next the step is. I think that's going to be the most important thing. So do not be afraid to put yourself first. Be selfish, but also be, with what Chris said, tactical. Be smart about the moves.
And with that, I am going to prepare to put myself first into my rooftop pool so I can cool off and relax. About 45 stories high overlooking the city.
There you go.
So I want to thank everybody on behalf of Mr. Reward and myself. Thank you for supporting, for joining us on this episode. Type in risk reward on YouTube. You will find us. Please follow, subscribe, share, and comment, especially on this episode. We definitely have some deeper dives that we can go into in the comment section. So we look forward to continuing to help you all find the upside in your career and your money making opportunities. And we'll see you next episode. Thank you.
See you guys next week.